friends, welcome back to another video. I'm so excited to have you guys here because we are going to be dipping our toe into spring, like letting it in a little bit, welcoming it into our room, welcoming it into our life just a little bit, just to get us started in the spring mood. Because I was out for a walk the other day and I saw the flowers starting to bloom, the new leaves starting to come out, and I was just thinking, it's spring. The world is saying, hey, we're getting ready for spring, so you should as well. So today we're just testing it out, just kind of getting our feels in. So we're going to be talking about books, baking, and some cozy stuff. Books, we're going to be talking about The Women. I just finished this book and I think it's amazing. I'm so excited to talk about it. I'll be kind of giving a general feel of it, but then also go into a couple spoilers because I just want to talk about this book and I don't have anybody to talk to about it yet. So I'm going to talk to you guys about it. And I hope you've read it, and if you haven't, I recommend it, but we'll talk more about it later. We're also going to be baking, so we're going to be making some strawberry cream Danishes. Absolutely delicious. We're going to go ahead and get strawberries, make a cream cheese kind of filling, and then put it on some pre-made puff pastry. They're really easy, really delightful, and perfect to kind of feel out the spring feelings. Maybe you have strawberries. If you don't, you can go ahead and use any fruit like blueberries or anything like that as well. So kind of make it whatever berry and cream Danish you would like. And I have a couple flowers I got at the garden center the other day to kind of get ready for spring. I can't yet plant them. They have to wait till March. I figured I'd show you what we got at the garden center and we'd have just kind of a little spring wander around. So I hope you guys are excited, because I'm excited. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about our book first, because I have it right here and I'm sitting here, and then we can go ahead and bake, and then we can go ahead and do a little cozy wander around at the end. So first off, The Women by Kristin Hannah. This honestly has to be, I mean, the year just started. We're halfway through February, so I can't say it's my favorite book of the year. As of yet, it is, but I won't know if it's going to be my favorite book until the end of the year. However, this is really honestly the best book I've read in a really long time. It's probably my favorite book I've read in over a year. It's so moving and so delightful and so, it's heartbreaking, but also beautiful and hopeful and inspiring, and it's a heavy book. It's really raw. So, I mean, I made a joke in my short that if I put a counter on the screen how many times I've cried, it would just be consistently crying. So it is a heavy book, but it's really, really well written. Kristin Hannah did a great job. She did research for this, so it's a historical fiction and it's beautiful. So I'll go ahead and kind of talk about the book first, so that way you can get an idea about it, get an idea if you'd be interested in reading it, and then I'll go ahead and go into spoilers afterwards. But don't worry, I'm going to go ahead and let you know before I talk about spoilers and have a little kind of frame around my screen so you know when to stop listening and when to start listening again. So, The Women is about all the women in Vietnam, but in this book we're following one specific character named Frankie. She's a young woman who's 21 who decides to become a nurse but goes to Vietnam during the Vietnam War. And while there she feels empowered and strong, but also scared, and we kind of follow those feelings. Kristin Hannah did a really good job at kind of showing us how everything feels. She did a really amazing job of showing us. So there's not a lot of telling. We get the feelings through Frankie, through her friends, through all of these men who are also in this war, and the pain they feel and the suffering they're going through, but also the camaraderie they get through friendship and through falling in love with your platoon or the people you're with all the time. And it's really amazing because you always hear in a lot of the newer books, there's a lot of telling instead of showing. And it really is, you feel like you're there with Frankie and you become a friend to Frankie. You understand her feelings. You want to hear about her day. You want to understand how she's doing, and you hope that she's going to be okay, and you hope she's going to get through things, and you hope she's going to find everything she wants in life, and you hope she's going to get through this time. And we follow her life through this Vietnam War and the pain and suffering, but also hope and love, and what that means, and what it means to be a nurse, and what it meant to be a nurse in Vietnam, and what it meant to be a nurse coming back, and just what it meant to also be a soldier in the Vietnam War. And I think this is a really telling story. I think it's wonderfully written. Like I've said before, I didn't know much about the Vietnam War before reading this, unfortunately, and I think Kristin Hannah did a really good job of explaining why we don't know much. I mean, I think I had a couple chapters in my high school history class about the Vietnam War, but we never went really in depth. And so I actually learned quite a bit from this story, and I know it's not all factual, but the general idea, what happened, what was used, what happened to the people in Vietnam, what happened to our soldiers, the nurses, that stuff is known and used in this story. Kristin Hannah definitely did her research and was trying to tell a story about these women, to make it as true as possible, to make it so that her reader understands how these vets felt there and how they also felt coming home. So if you're looking for a raw, beautiful, and uplifting story that's also just so painful, then I really highly recommend The Women. If I could give this a 6 out of 5 star, I would. I mean, I could because it's my rating, but I'm not going to. However, this is the best book I've read in a really long time, and I consumed it. I read it so quickly. I just thought it was so well done, and it's such an easy read too, in the sense that you're flipping through pages so quickly because the story just carries itself. It's not an easy read in the sense of the storyline or the topic or how it's written. It's easily read in the fact that you can actually flip through the pages and understand the story, and you're being carried through the story instead of having to kind of push through the story. So that's The Women. That's why I really recommend it. It's a lot of feeling. So I figured I'm going to go into spoilers just a little bit, just a teeny tiny bit, because I want to talk about it a little bit, and I want to talk to somebody about it, and that's you. So if you don't want to hear spoilers, go ahead and pop below where the chapters are. You can go ahead and see where I'm going to go ahead and start talking about baking. If you're interested in my thoughts that are further in depth in the story and giving away a little bit of spoilers, go ahead and stick around, and make sure you don't write anything in the comments below. I don't want to spoil anybody on this book, so if you have any feelings or thoughts or want to talk about spoilers, go ahead and write me on Instagram right here, and we can go ahead and talk on my messaging over there. But keep the comments spoiler free so that way anybody else can enjoy and love this book as well. So spoilers. The fact that Frankie's brother died within just, I think, the first 30 pages of the story was just mind-blowing. So we get that pain, that raw pain, very quickly, and the fact that he dies the day she signs up is kind of like, oof, what's the probability of that happening? But based on the fact that so many people died in the Vietnam War, I don't think that's too out of the ordinary. So Frankie signs up for the Vietnam War to be a nurse. She finds out that her brother dies on a helicopter, and she signed up, so she has to go. So she goes to the Vietnam War, and she's just dropped in there and said, survive, pretty much. She got a little bit of training, of course, but she's told to survive. And so she gets there, she meets her bunkmates, who end up being her best friends, who end up being two people that you can also love and enjoy. But you just follow her through the pain and suffering she first starts out with without understanding anything that's happening. But then she starts understanding kind of the work of being a nurse in war, being a nurse in Vietnam, and caring for soldiers who've lost their leg, who've lost their arm, who've been shot, who've been blown up, who are dying in front of her, who she knows will not make it home. And that pain of seeing those soldiers, and you are given that pain as well. Like I said earlier, I was crying a lot in the story. I was crying so much, I was worried. But that's one of the great things about this novel, is it's definitely showing you what the rawness of all the pain that not just the soldiers went through, but also the nurses, because they witnessed all of that stuff. They were also there. They were also in the war. They may have not taken their guns and run around outside, but they were also in danger. And Kristin Hannah goes really into the details of how the bombs were blowing up right next to them. The bullets were flying through their camp. And I think Kristin Hannah did a really, really great job of explaining that and putting us there and making us see what these nurses were going through. And then that's just part one. Part one is just her story, Frankie's story of being there, falling in love, realizing he's married, losing that man, falling in love again, and losing that man. Like, it's just pain and more pain and more pain. And so we can continuously hear these names: Jamie, Finley, and Rye. I don't want to talk about Rye all that much. And if you know, you know. But so she ends up talking about her brother and these two men she's lost. Thankfully, she still has her two friends who were her nurse kind of cohorts, and she gets sent home. And the pain is still there. And what she saw is still there. And the nightmares are still there. And we watch her suffer through alcoholism and drug addiction and pain and a miscarriage and just wanting love and feeling like she doesn't have love. And I think this part kind of dragged for me, but you almost needed it to slow you down. You needed the story to slow down because you needed to understand what Frankie was also going through. Her life was nothing. She felt like her life was nothing. She felt like there was no motivation to move forward. So it was nice to, I think Kristin Hannah did a really good job to make us also feel like nothing was moving forward. And you got, because you've almost befriended Frankie, you've been through all this pain with her and suffering, you're getting angry at her because you want her to get her life together. You want her to do better. You want her to survive. But you also understand why she feels like she can't survive. She has no help. She has no hope. Her family's not there for her. And it's just so sad. And you want her to get better and you want people to care for her. Thankfully, she has Barb and Ethel, but they're so far away and they have their own lives, and she feels like she can't always be asking for help. But then she just kind of melts. She loses almost all hope, and we start seeing that. And I think Kristin Hannah did a really good job at showing us the steps of the depression and the pain, and how it's not, oh, I'm sad and I'm thinking about suicide, but it's sad, it's pain, it's suffering, it's looking for any way to distract yourself. It's looking for any way to get out of these thoughts in your head. It's looking for any way to just disappear. And we see that through Frankie's hardships and her feelings. And like I said, I don't really want to talk about Rye. Rye is a different character. I think that's one of the parts where I was like, Frankie, don't do it, don't do it. But you could see that she just wanted love. And unfortunately, that love doesn't work out. And so it's just painful to witness that. And you just want Frankie to be happy, because all she's seen in the last couple of years is just pain. And she's just been rejected multiple times. And she just wants to be seen. And I'm so happy with the last 50 pages of the story, because we just saw hope. And she ends up getting help for her drug addiction, her alcoholism. She ends up getting help with her nightmares and her PTSD from Vietnam. She ends up getting help and understanding her pain and her suffering. And she doesn't forget about it, of course, because that's something you can't forget about. But she learns that it's just one day at a time. And I felt like that was so strong and that was so well done, because it's not, oh, we forget about it and our pains are gone, our PTSD is gone, our trauma is gone. It's, we learn to live with that, and we learn to live day by day. And that was so strong. And seeing her meet Jamie at the very end of the book was hopeful. And I loved that. And I love that we don't know what happened. I wish I knew what happened. But we were left with hope, and I really loved that. I really loved that just glimmer of hope. We see the reconciliation between her and her dad. We see the love between her and her mom, and then we see her have hope for that life she wanted with Jamie. And I really, really loved the end of this book. I thought it was so well done. I have no questions. I'm boosting this book up because I've just finished it and I'm just in love with it, and I'm just but to read another story about women in war and the pain and suffering they've gone through and how much they work so hard to get out of these situations was just so moving. And I really like stories like this because it's about strength and power and going through suffering but coming out stronger in the end. And it's just amazing. So, sorry. Those are my thoughts on the women. And if you haven't read this book, I highly, highly recommend it because it will make you feel feelings. And I actually think it's a really perfect time to read this story because it's about transition and newness, and spring is all about new and the transition and things coming up and coming out of the winter dark months and having the trees bloom, the flowers bloom, and everything like that. So this is actually a really great time to read this novel. It's only been out a couple weeks, and I can't gush about it enough. So go read it. Tell me about it. Tell me on Instagram though. But if you did like it and you just want to tell me you liked it, go ahead and put it in the comments below because maybe you'll help other people read it too. So enough about the women. Let's go ahead and pop to the kitchen and do a little bit of baking because we deserve a delicious treat for reading a heavy book, or we deserve a delicious treat because we're just freaking awesome. So let's pop into the kitchen and make ourselves some delicious fruit and cream Danishes. I really appreciate you guys joining me today. I have to say I can't appreciate you guys enough. All the support, all of the likes, all the comments, all of the love you guys give me. It means so much to me. I do put a lot of effort into these videos, even though it may not always seem like it. But I really enjoy making these videos. I really enjoy sharing my thoughts with you. I really enjoy sharing pieces of my life with you and coziness and happiness. And I hope to continue doing that. So if you did like this video, go ahead and give it a like. If you want to see more content like this about baking books or cozy stuff, go ahead and subscribe. It helps me out a lot and it encourages me to continue making more videos as well. Because if I know you guys like it, and I like it, then why not? So I do hope you guys have a lovely day. I hope you're getting ready for spring. I hope you enjoy if you have sun, or maybe it's cloudy where you're at, and maybe you can enjoy a good little book with a hot cup of tea to enjoy the rest of your winter. But I do hope you're getting ready for spring, and I'm excited to celebrate spring with you guys. But we still have a little bit of winter. We can still enjoy winter a little bit longer. So until next week, you guys, I hope you have a lovely day, a lovely weekend, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Ciao!